Hello, my beautiful sisters. Nice to have you here in the Startuppreneur Summit. And we have Alexandra Pope here today. She is the author of one of my favorite books called Wild Power, which we actually had in the book club, her sisterhood book club, a few months ago, and everyone fell in love with it. And the big idea here is discovering the magic of your menstrual cycle and awaken the feminine path to power. And today we're really going to talk about how to connect your menstrual cycle with your business plan. So it's going to be crazy. It's going to be fantastic. And I want to start with Alexandra. What is Wild Power? Give it to me, girl.
I'll give it to you. And before I give it to you, I just want to say that I am co-author of the book. I just want to acknowledge Shani, my wonderful colleague. And
she's amazing, definitely.
So what is wild power? Wild power, that term wild power is a way of talking about your unique spirit. And it's also a way of talking about your unique calling in the world. So we've all come in with something unique about us, our own, it's about us. It's a way of talking about your unique self, but the expression of that self through your calling. Mm-hmm. So wild as in unadulterated, pure you.
Love it. Perfect. So how do we, and I mentioned that we're going to talk about this, so now I want to get into it. What does having your menstrual cycle have to do with connecting to your business and really getting the flow of when to start your business, launching, being creative, and so on and so forth?
Well, getting in touch with your wild power is getting in touch with yourself and your what we call rhythm of power. So we think of the menstrual cycle as your unique rhythm of power. And what we mean by that is your power to go out and do stuff in the world. So we're all unique in our energy, mood, character. We've got a unique configuration of forces. And when you start to work with the pattern of your menstrual cycle, you have a lovely guide for the stages, really, or how can I put it? Yes, the stages of manifesting anything. So each phase of the menstrual cycle has different types of energies and different powers which you can draw upon, Jaslyn, to support your business. So, for example, when we're menstruating, usually we feel like we just want to be very still and quiet and internal, and there's a feeling of a need to rest and drop down inside. And menstruation is really the natural visioning time, and you don't want to be launching something right when you've just started bleeding, because it's the ending of your energy is at its lowest, so the cycle is coming to an end, and there is a new cycle beginning, but you're sort of in this special so I was going to say down territory, internal space. And it's not the natural, you'd be going against yourself to step out there. But what you would be tapping into is the vision for your business, what you're all about. So you'll feel supercharged by, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. So there's an inspiration that comes to a clarity about what it is you're meant to be doing. So it's the dreaming phase of your business, when you dream into what your business is about, you see. And then as you come out of menstruation, you're starting a new cycle. You've got fresh energy, and you've got you've got renewed sort of enthusiasm, motivation. There's sort of a natural momentum that comes. That's the moment, in that first half of your menstrual cycle, it's like surfing a wave, on the ocean. You want to catch the wave of your energy. Yeah. And generally speaking, each woman is unique, but generally speaking, there's this upsurge of energy as you come out of your cycle. And that's the moment for launching something, for example. So there's a couple of examples, but you ask me more questions and we'll see where.
Well, we mentioned the menstrual cycle, and then we mentioned the post-menstrual cycle, or the pre-ovulation time, right? So you mentioned two. What are the other two cycles, and how does that connect with us and our business as well?
Okay, so I'll just talk about the 4 phases of the cycle.
One.
And the first phase, we relate each phase to a season. It's because it's the best way of talking about it. So think of menstruation as your inner winter, and you want to chill and be internal, and that's that vision time, as I've just talked about. As you come out into the pre-ovulatory time. That's like the inner spring, which I hope is coming very soon.
Yeah. Definitely.
The outer spring is coming. And then the ovulatory time of the cycle is the inner summer, which is the kind of most resplendent and abundant time. And then the premenstrual phase, the one that we feel perhaps most challenges around, we call the autumn of the cycle. And so each of these seasons, as I've just mentioned, have different types of energies. And as I'm a businesswoman, and of course I don't have a menstrual cycle anymore, but I'm very conscious of cyclical energy. But Shani, my colleague, has a cycle, and we really pay attention to and work with the energy of her cycle in running our business. And actually, for instance, in writing our book as well. So, I really love it when Shani is bleeding, because it has a period, because she often has really big ideas come to her about the business. So that's where you get your ideas from. And then when you're in the summer of your cycle, you have the most energy there. So when you're in the ovulatory time of your cycle, that's the time when you can really get down to just doing all the hard work that's required. So you have this lovely vision come to you, great idea you've got, and in the first half of your cycle you're initiating that idea, and particularly in the summer of your menstrual cycle, you want to capitalize on that energy, because you've got extra chutzpah to just go out there and to, because it's edgy sometimes running your own business. There are challenges you have to manage, and you have to step up to things to present out in the world. Well, you can capitalize on your cycle to help you do just that. So if you have to make a presentation about your work, you want to try and plan it, when you're in that more spring and summer energy of the cycle.
Yeah, definitely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I know that summer is like superwoman time, so you can get anything done, right?
Yes.
That's literally, I plan the most things when possible in my inner summer. And my inner spring too, I would say, is like a mini inner summer, for me at least. Personally.
Yes, it is. I think it varies from woman to woman, actually, because some women really find their mojo in the autumn of their cycle. I used to feel a little bit overexposed in the spring phase. But then there's women like yourself, who are just like in your groove, so to speak, when you come out into the spring. And there is this lovely natural rising wave of energy and motivation and a sense of possibility, that anything is possible. And you're not cynical. You might get cynical later in the cycle, or a bit negative and think, oh, why did I decide to do this? Or this is too hard. But in the early part of your cycle, there is a natural optimism and motivation, and you want to capitalize on that energy. So as you come out of menstruation, yes, you can start to get in gear. You need to be careful not to overdo it, because the thing is, one of the beauties of the menstrual cycle is that it actually, essentially, like all cycles, it's a rhythm of activity and rest. There'll be times where you have loads of energy, and there'll be times when your energy is more muted. And this is not a weakness. This is just you learning to manage your energy, because you cannot stay in that superwoman go, 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 go energy all the time. It is a recipe for complete and utter burnout. And so that's the wonder of the menstrual cycle, is that it sort of gives you that moment of high, supercharged energy. And then as you come out of your inner summer into your inner autumn, your energies start to drop a bit, and you start to feel drawn into yourself more, and your feelings start to become more center stage. And it's actually reminding you that you can't keep going at 90 miles an hour all the time, and that you need to slow down. So when a woman is running her business in sync with her cycle as best you can, because unfortunately, the rest of the society doesn't always march to our tune, sadly. I'm working on it.
Yeah, we're working on it. We'll get there.
We haven't quite cracked that one yet. But you can control some things. You can't control everything, but you can control some things. So you can start to get really strategic about how you plan your diary. So always write in your diary what the days of the cycle are for you, and when menstruation is due. So when you're putting something into the diary, let's say someone has suggested a big meeting for a particular date, and you look in your diary and you go, geez, that is just the day before I start bleeding. Woof. That is the most vulnerable place in the whole cycle, where your energy is probably absolutely at its lowest, and you will not want to be standing up in front of a bunch of people selling yourself. So you would make a smart decision and go, sorry, I'm busy.
Mm-hmm.
Busy on that day. And in your head, you're going, doing nothing. But you're not. I'm really, really busy doing nothing, but I'm not going to tell you that. They do not have to know. You simply say, no, I can't do that day. And sometimes you can't control that. Maybe that's the only day. And then you take precautions, and because you know about yourself and your cycle, you prepare differently. So it is the most exquisite self-care tool, which is 101 for running a business.
Definitely.
But also, when you're working with your cycle, you're able to draw on different types of energy. And so we've named some of them, that visionary time at menstruation, that sense of playfulness and possibility in the spring of the cycle, where you go, what? Yeah. And you've got ideas popping, and there's a kind of, there's a playfulness and ease. And then you've got that wonderful kind of drive and amazing sense of wanting just to connect with the world. Your energy is so outwards in the summer of the cycle. So you can just do the work of getting things done. And then when you come into the autumn of the cycle, and I know women often struggle to feel the value of this time. And really we struggle with this time because we don't know how to work with the changing energy, because we actually are slowing down a bit. But in the autumn of your cycle, you have this real kick-ass, truth-speaking, insightful power that comes through, a real instinctual knowing. So if you're pacing yourself to your cycle, and you come into the autumn of the cycle, you do trust the insights you get. Then you suddenly go, oh, that is so not working. You'll get, a week ago it was all fine and dandy, and then you get round to your autumn and go, whoa, how did I not see that?
Yeah.
Or you just get extraordinary clarity about what's required. And often people talk about sort of being very creative here, and I think what they mean by that is that they have huge amounts of clarity and insight and ideas coming, and there's a kind of raw, a gutsy, instinctual energy that can get you sorting things out. It's also a kind of editing energy. For instance, when we were writing the book, particularly Shani got exquisite insights when she was in the autumn of her cycle about the book that a week or so before we thought was just fine. So you've got these these editing powers, if you like, and this truth-speaking power.
So let me see if I got this straight. Help me out here. So I'm triple checking here. So your menstrual cycle, or your inner winter, is all about visionary and being able to just put everything down. And is it good also for business strategy and planning, would you say?
It is, but it's not where you go, okay, I'm going to create a business plan here. And it's not that kind of energy. You really need to just let go and rest. And what you drop into when you really, truly follow your natural impulses, this is not imposing anything on yourself. You will feel the impulse to withdraw and to just go internal and to be very still. And if you're able to do that and to drop outer stimulation, to come off technology, off, all computers and iPhones and everything, just drop it all and just go into yourself. It's like you open up this inner space. And this is where you touch into your wild power, Jaslyn. This is, and your wild power, if you remember me saying, is both your deep self and your calling.
Yeah.
What you have come here to serve in the world. So this is where you'll get the kind of big picture of what you're wanting to do. You'll get I always joke about this, you'll get the how to save the world plan.
Okay. So it's not something that you particularly plan for. It's not like I'm going to sit down and work on my business strategy. It's going to come to you out of nowhere. It's kind of like a divine timing.
Yes, it's like a download. You just get this download of, what your business is about, or, what you need to be doing. And it may really surprise you what comes through. And then it's really important to just make notes and not argue with it. You don't argue. It's like I say, take dictation from the divine is what I say. Just take it in. Just write. You'll just get loads of fabulous ideas if you can give yourself this space. And then as you start to come out into the inner spring, that's when you start planning and playing, beginning to think about, strategizing things, what might that look like? How might I go about doing it? Yes.
All right, perfect. So we have the inner winter, and then the inner spring. I normally relax in the beginning of the inner spring because it's moving from winter to spring, but I end up, after all my journaling of my inner winter, I'm starting to plan out like, okay, these are what my days are going to look like. This is what my next month is going to look like. And that's also perfect with the new moon. My menstrual cycle is connected to the new moon. It's hilarious, which is perfect because new moon's all about visionary and planning out the next month as well. So inner spring is starting that for me. And I actually started this online summit that is now on, and it's going to be right before my inner spring is over, heading towards my inner summer, knowing that was going to be like my all power. I had to be there and show up for the online summit. And then through time, I've been actually thinking if for the inner winter again, when it pops up, if I should take that week off and just not schedule daily emails. I've thought about it a few times and see, maybe I know other people are not connected to their inner autumn at the same time period. It's been fun to plan out how my business works with the inner me. And I've noticed that for me, living cyclically, and I've lived with the seasons, I've lived with the moon, I've lived with everything you could possibly think of, days, weeks, months, planning out themes. Working with my menstrual cycle has been the best asset to my business. And that's why I had to have you on here today, Alexandra. I just had to. And I really wish Shani was here with us too, for that matter. But thank you. And I just needed to have my beautiful ladies watching this know the importance of connecting to their menstrual cycle, when to launch their business, and compared to doing it on their menstrual cycle and being like, oh, I wish I wasn't doing this, and feeling dragged, they're going to have so much energy when they're being superwoman, right? So Thank you for that. Now, before we finish this, I want to make sure that anyone that feels like they have an irregular period is like, how does this work for me? Or anyone that's on their birth control, right? Theirs might be a little off. They don't really have a period, and it's menopause. So you can start off with whatever one you feel more comfortable with, but I want to make sure we handle all three. And I'm thinking of anything else that women might go through and be asking themselves right now. What do you think?
Oh, yes, that's such an important question, actually. Just starting with women who have irregular cycles, my first thing I always say to these women is just chart the cycle you have and get to know it. Because there may be a pattern in your supposed irregularity. And then I would also concentrate on learning about some good self-care practices for seeing if you can bring more regularity. Now, cycle awareness in and of itself is a kind of self-care practice. It is a self-care practice, and it has a kind of soothing effect on us. And anything that's de-stressing is going to support, because stress is at the bottom of all hormonal problems, or actually any health problem, but all hormonal problems. So starting to recognize, just simply starting to recognize your cycle in a more conscious and deliberate way is going to help. But I would urge women who are experiencing irregular cycles to well, they can just join our free Hormone Harmony course for some basic self-care stuff. But I also like to recommend Lara Bryden's book, The Period Repair Manual.
Interesting.
For learning some, health remedies for starting to create more regularity. But just chart. And in that charting, and to learn a little bit more about the cycle in general, so I would encourage them to read Wild Power, and so that they can start to see perhaps that there might be some sort of seasonal stuff within their apparent irregular journey. But it is messier. But I do believe they can start to find some sort of regular pattern. Now, women who are on hormonal contraception, well, on the pill, are not having any menstrual cycle. They've got a pill-induced cycle, but it is not, categorically not, a menstrual cycle. And, of course, women are on the pill for contraception or for health problems, period problems or skin problems. And it's important, I realise, to have solutions for that. I, of course, am not a great fan of hormonal contraception. I am a great fan of women having reliable contraception and remedies for healing symptoms. But if you are on the pill and you don't know any other option yet, just work with your pill-induced cycle. Just work with the pill-induced cycle. That's one thing you can do. It's not going to be the same as the menstrual cycle, but you're starting to think cyclically about yourself. And I actually would encourage you to read Wild Power and to think about the seasonal energies, and just to recognize that you have those same needs inside you, but you just don't have the menstrual cycle guiding you in that moment. It might be also useful to pay attention to the moon cycle, which is what I would also say to postmenopause women. I'm postmenopause, and I feel the cyclical knowledge is deeply embedded in me. So I feel like I manage lots of different cycles. I'm very conscious of the seasons. So I'm very much in winter. I'm very conscious that I'm coming up to my birthday soon, and that's always the beginning of a new year for me.
Yay.
And so just in that month before my birthday, I don't push things. I often feel quite sort of, low key and sort of more internal. But I absolutely pay attention to the moon phases because they do affect me, not as strongly as the menstrual cycle did. On the contrary, the menstrual cycle is utterly unique in its impact, on you. But nonetheless, there is something very distinctive, Jaslyn, there for me, subtle but distinctive. And I enjoy that, feeling that patterning within me. So working with the moon cycle is a great way. So new moon is day one of new cycle. And that the full moon is, of course, high summer in our menstrual cycle language.
Perfect.
Yes, does that answer your questions?
It answers my question perfectly. And if I may, I want to mention a little bit of my story. When I first started reading Wild Power, I was on birth control for over 6-7 years. And the reason that I was on birth control is because I was irregular. I would have my period for a week, and then 2 weeks would pass by and I'd get my period again. Or the complete opposite would happen. I would have my period for a week or however long, and then I wouldn't get my period at all for 3 months until who knows when again. And it was a disaster. So the doctors told me it was better if I was on birth control so I could have a regular period. I didn't know that I didn't have my period when I was on birth control, and that I was messing up my body. And when I got with my boyfriend, he's like, "You are the least, most hormonal girl I know." I was very superwoman all the time. And I would, every inner season, it didn't matter what I was on, I was superwoman, I would make it happen. And then I would crash completely because I was so trying to be up here and be this amazing superwoman girl that I would just crash and be depressed for a good week. And then I'd go back up. It was ridiculous. So when I was reading Wild Power, I decided, okay, if I'm going to do this correctly, and I'm not saying anybody else needs to do this, but I'm saying if I had to personally do my psycho awareness, I wanted to do it correctly. So I got off birth control. It's been about 6+ months now that I've been doing that, and it has been a life changer. I'm completely regular now. after 6-7 years of taking birth control and being worried that I would be irregular. The beginning, my hormones were crazy. They came back with force, but now they're more, they're getting there. They're more common. My boyfriend's like, okay, you're a regular woman now. And it's been a journey. Now, I haven't had menopause, and I won't for a while, but I can definitely go, if you need to talk to someone about birth control irregular periods, I know all about having to self-care and get on it. And now, just like Alexandra said, that new moon is day 1. My new moon is my actual day 1 of my menstrual cycle. So it's amazing how they even synced. I went from being irregular to not knowing to being regular with the moon.
That is super regular.
So now I feel like I'm totally on track, and it's amazing. I know exactly what I need to do each day, and when I need to take a break. With like every time there's a void moon, I'm like, okay, I'm off. So it's amazing. So thank you, Alexandra, for that. So I would like to go ahead.
Yes, I just want to say one thing really strongly about the menstrual cycle. I think of the menstrual cycle as yourself in action. So when you're connected to your cycle, you are connected to yourself. It's like a direct line into yourself. It's a way of checking in with yourself, but it's also a way of managing yourself, managing your energy. It's a way of holding yourself. And it's really exquisite in that way. And it's just tragic that we women are not understanding this and able to utilize this. Yeah. And I also just want to add one other thing. For those women who are needing contraception and are wanting to enjoy doing cycle awareness and not take hormonal contraception, to check out fertility awareness, or FAM, F-A-M, fertility awareness management, and also get a diaphragm. You need condoms, diaphragms, and fertility awareness. That combination of forces. Now, do your research. There's lots of great sites now where you can get information. Also, the book that I co-authored, The Pill, Are You Sure It's For You? So if you're on the pill and you're just worried about it and coming off it, you can read that book, and that helps you to think it through. But the most important thing here is that you do what you are ready for and not what someone else thinks you should do. That's absolutely crucial here. Yeah.
Definitely. And thank you for making that very clear. And I wanted to be clear about that too. I have my own story. It took me 7+ years to get here, but I'm sure that if you really want to, pick up Wild Power. Alexandra and Shani have a great system. They have amazing free courses, and they're going to have a free gift, which we'll talk about soon. But before we get there, I have one more question for you. And that is, anyone that's watching this right now and is like, this is amazing, I want to learn more, what do I do? What's the first thing that they should do? So what is an action step that they can take today to move forward with connecting their menstrual cycle with themselves? And by the way, I think it's really important to know that when you connect with your menstrual cycle, you're connecting with your true self. A lot of people tell me when they get connected with their menstrual cycle is, I know who I am. And that's so powerful. And then as well as your business, and your business becomes a piece of you. It's so crazy. What do you think?
Lovely. That's so beautiful what you say.
Thank you. I've learned a lot from you.
Oh, no. I love what you're saying, and I've forgotten the question. Oh, I know. Yes.
What is an action step they can take today?
An action step right now. Well, right now, you may not know the exact day of your cycle, but roughly work it out. And just start charting your cycle from today. Now, you can come to our Red School website, redschool.net, and if you sign up, you'll get to our newsletter. You'll actually get a download of a menstrual chart, or you can go to our Hormone Harmony course at redschoolonline.net. And you can just get a chart there, so you can do that right now, or there's apps and so on. But what I want you to do is to actually to just what you're going to do each day is just to note down the dominant energies or feelings. So it's like the feeling tone, your energy, it's feeling tone and your energy. To make a note of that each day, and at the beginning of each day, to just note what day of the cycle you're on. So you can kind of go, oh, it's day 17 today, and just notice your mood as you start the day. And then at the end of the day, again, just check in and go, what was the dominant tone of this day?
Yeah.
And make just 1 or 2 notes for yourself. And at first it may look all a bit arbitrary, like there's no pattern here. But as you do this for a few months, you will start to see a pattern, and you'll actually start to see the distinct pattern of the seasons. But you may even notice that on particular days, the same thing happens.
Yeah.
So don't worry, just today, tune in and go, how am I today? And roughly guess what day of your cycle you're on. So if you're charting by the moon cycle, I think it's about day 20 or 21, actually. I can't quite remember now because I'm charting by somewhere around that. So you could actually just start today by, if you are postmenopause or on the pill or whatever, noting the moon cycle. But yes, just have a go at guessing and just start recording something. But actually the free gift we're going to give you is our Menstrual Cycle Awareness ebook, which is perfect introduction to menstrual cycle awareness, which is what I've just been talking about, and just more nuancing on that.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And I can't wait to actually see the Menstrual Cycle Awareness ebook that you said that you're going to give us as well. It's kind of a starting point. So if anyone is confused on how to chart, what to chart, she kind of gave you a little breakdown. Get your mood at the beginning of the day, get your mood at the end of the day. And there's so much more to it. At some point, you start learning all kinds of things of what really getting in tune with your cycle means, and it's specific to you. So don't worry about getting specific and following a task. And for my workaholic girls, this is going to be a changer for you, because I know what it's like to always want to work. But when you learn to actually relax throughout your menstrual cycle when necessary, you're going to realize that when it is work time, you're going to get 100 times things more done. You're going to be like, what just happened? I thought I was 100% all the time, and you just realize that you're at 50% on average unless you relax. It's crazy stuff how the menstrual cycle connects with you. And my last technique that I'm going to mention personally that's really helped me is I have 2 apps on my phone that I use. One is called Clue, and the other one is called Flow, F-L-O. And both of them are used for menstrual cycle awareness and being able to track, take notes, and so on and so forth. And it's a reminder on my phone. So in case I forget to write it in my journal, personally, I have a reminder on my phone to do it. So it's perfect. It keeps me on track. If I forget what day I'm on, my boyfriend, I'm like, babe, I'm day 23. Please leave me alone. He knows already. So do my best friends now. So it's perfect. And I really recommend doing it. And when you join the exclusive Facebook group at some point, you're also going to see me mentioning that. I'll be like, I'm day blank. This is how I'm feeling today. How are you feeling? And I do that every once in a while just to remind people, like, where are you? So thank you very much, Alexandra. It's always a pleasure speaking to you. And I can't wait to see your free ebook and get to hear how people react to this.
Yes, me too, Jocelyn. I would love to hear. It's an absolute pleasure. I love talking to you. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. All right, my beautiful ladies. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Mwah. Bye.